Hey, Vinicius Brasil here, and welcome to another Santa Clara housing market for January 2021. Happy New Year to you. And this is where we talk about what's going on in the market. We've got a lot to talk about today, so let's get right to it. So the first thing I usually do is just go to my blog post. We post this every month about the market. You can find it on our real estate website, santaclararealestateguide.com, share it on Facebook, or you can get a link to this via an email newsletter that we send out monthly. And really quickly, just a snapshot of what's going on in the market in January and a summary of this article. So if it's too much, because there is a lot of information here and you kind of want to get a gist of what is going on, you can just read the summary, repost this video here, and just talk about what's going on in the market. So I'm going to recap some of these details and just kind of let you know, what's really going on. So just in December last month, we saw 44 single-family homes close escrow, and that's 16 less than what we saw in November. And just to recap, towards the end of last year, we saw a lot of sales, and that was mostly due to the fact that we didn't have as much sales in the spring and summer because of the shutdown and COVID. So we ended up having a much busier fall than we typically do. But in typical fashion, we also did drop down as we got closer to the end of the year because of the holidays, right? So it's very normal to have less sales in December than we did in November, and generally less sales in November than October. Now, here's another detail as well. In December, the average price of a home sold was $1.41 million in Santa Clara. That's about $10,000 less than November's figure. And the median price of a home sold was $1.39, which is about $10,000 higher than November's median price. So pricing, according to this, stayed the same. Now, here's something that you need to realize about sales towards the end of the year. And I get this a lot from buyers. They look at the graphs that they find on some of the other real estate websites that are publishing metrics. And what they'll notice is pricing dipping at the end of the year. They'll see a graph where prices going up in the beginning of the year, but then when we get into fall and winter, prices kind of drop down, and they think, wow, that's a good opportunity to buy at that time because prices are going down. And to be honest with you, if you follow that graph, it's really misleading because that's not what's going on at all. That's a really tough time to buy. There's not much inventory at the end of the year. Typically, there's less and less homes. And typically the homes that are on the market at that time of year are not really high quality, right? There's a lot of fixer-uppers on the market at that time of year and just homes that need to be sold because most people don't want to sell in those times of years. They want to enjoy their holidays. So really only people that need to sell or don't have any reason to hold on to this property are just going to sell at that time of year. And that means because they're lesser quality homes, they're not going to get higher prices like really updated and fixed up homes. So that's why you see the average price of a home selling that time of year less than other times of the years because they're lesser quality homes. So don't be fooled in thinking that it's better to buy at the end of the year because pricing is going down, because that's not the case at all. In many cases, pricing is going up. So on average, homes sold about 5.8% over asking. That's a little bit more than the previous month, so that shows you again, market was getting hotter. More homes were getting bid up even higher, right? We started the month with December with 30 active listings on the market, and we ended it with 18 in Santa Clara. So again, that's really typical. At the end of the year, pricing or inventory drops because there's not a lot of homes being listed. Also, a lot of people take their homes off the market because if it's not selling, they figure they might as well just enjoy their holidays and then relist it maybe in January or some other time at the beginning of the year, right? So a couple things. The local market continues to be really active. A lot of buyers are out there, and the motivation that I'm noticing for buyers right now is that they need more space and interest rates are incredibly low. So instead of entering into another lease term, if there are leases coming up or whatever, they just need more space. They're looking for homes. They want something larger. And that's why the single family home market is doing exceptionally well. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to switch over here to Altos reports. And these are reports that we subscribe to. We provide them to our sellers and our buyer clients so they can keep track of what's going on in the market. And what's important to note here is typically the market action index. This is a proprietary metric that measures the strength of the market. So, if you're like me, you're really busy, you don't want to spend a lot of time looking at several different metrics and trying to make sense out of them. It would be nice just to see one number and tell you, hey, is that number going up? Is it going down? And it'll give you an indication as what direction the market is trending at. And that's the market action index. So right now, for single family homes in all of Santa Clara, the market action index is around 73, right? And you can see the trend here down below of where it's been. It's been climbing, and now it's kind of dipping a little bit. Now, if we go to condos, market action index is 45. That's a huge difference, right? In terms of the how active the market is. Now, just to be fair here, condos, that's pretty diverse. That goes anywhere from a 1-bedroom condo all the way to say like a 3 to 4 bedroom townhome, right? So if you've got a 3 to 4 bedroom townhome that resembles more of a single family home, it's probably going to take on more of the characteristics of a single family home than a condo. But if you want to break down those segments, you just go down over here, look at market action index, and you have this little click here. You click that and you can see the different segments for those price points. So you'll see the top end of townhomes, it's pretty strong. That's closer to 80 as opposed to say the mid 40s, right? If you're interested in those Altos reports, there's a link here that'll take you directly to that page. You can subscribe. You can get the full report here. If you click on this, you're going to get a full report, which is a 6-page report. If you want more information, in-depth information, you're welcome to get that report and you can look through it. And again, that link is provided to you every week. When you subscribe to the Altos reports, you can get it every 2 weeks, you can get it every month, you can even get it every quarter. So a couple things to understand this time of year, right? Inventory is low, and that's very typical. But as we're moving closer or moving towards spring, inventory is going to start to climb, right? So this time of year, it's really challenging to buy a home because there's a lot of buyers looking and there's not a lot of homes on the market. So expect there to be a good amount of multiple offers. Expect pricing to continue to go up. How much higher? Well, that's hard to say. But my feeling right now is that the market, although it's very strong, it's a strong seller's market, it's not as strong as some of the other markets that we've seen in the past. And in fact, it's not as strong as where it was last year at this very time. To be looking at if you're a buyer and a seller as in terms of how things are going to play out this year. And everything has to do with home inventory, right? So if home inventory really starts to climb up and we get into a market where there's a lot of homes on the market, and more so than what the buyers are willing or capable of absorbing, then we're going to move into a more steady market and we're going to start seeing homes sitting on the market, and then that's going to result in some price drops. Now, I don't know how quickly that's going to happen, but my guess that's going to happen sometime in late spring, definitely by early summer this year. So, some of the things I'm noticing is we are getting multiple offers, and they're good multiple offers, but it's not like previous markets where we've gotten 10, 15 offers at this time of year. It's a little bit more tempered, right? And the other factors that I'm looking at, mainly are number one, interest rates are good, obviously very low, but they're more likely to start going up as the vaccine and as COVID gets more under control, and that's kind of the expectation. There's going to be speculation in the market that the United States is going to change its monetary policy, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on rates to start going up, right? So that's going to be one factor. The second factor, I think, is, well, there's been a lot of people that have been moving away, and there's not a lot of people moving into the area, right? So I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but I believe there's negative growth right now in our area. So that's going to affect the market, right? And then number three, Prop 19 goes into effect, at least the provision of Prop 19 where you can transfer your tax bases goes into effect on April 1st. And that's going to allow sellers to virtually move anywhere in California and keep their tax bases. And that's usually one of the biggest objections I see from people who want to move is, where do I move to? I'd like to move to here, but with my tax bases changing, it doesn't make sense. Now that's completely off the table. So I feel like that's going to increase some of the inventory as well. So a lot of components out there that indicate that the market is likely to shift towards the beginning of spring or towards the middle of spring, right? So for buyers, it's too early to really predict what's going to happen this year, but I think conditions are going to get a little bit more favorable for you guys towards the spring, right? Now the big question is, will prices run up so heavy right now between now and then that you would be able to get a better price on a home now than you would, say, spring and summer? Well, I can't tell you for certain, but my feeling is I think they'll probably be either the same, or there's a good possibility that you could get a better deal. It just depends on how hot things turn right now in the next few weeks and maybe the next month, right? Before we start to see more inventory. Sellers. Now, this is a good question for sellers. It just really depends on what your next step is. Are you going to stay in California, right? Or are you moving out of state? Because if you're staying in California, it makes a lot of sense for you to wait for that property tax provision to become effective. So, as of April 1st, if you sell a property and then buy a property, you'll be able to transfer your property tax in California, and that could be a savings of $20,000 a year to you. So, it would make a lot of sense for you to just wait until that's available for you to take advantage of. If you're not staying in California or not buying another property, then my feeling is I would probably get started sooner rather than later, because I feel like there's more of a likelihood that there'll be more inventory in April and even March, because got to remember, all they need to do is close escrow after April 1st. So they can put their home on the market in March and sell it and then close in April, and they would still be within the provisions of that. So if you're thinking of selling and you're going to sell this year, you may want to try to get sold or try to get your home on the market sooner rather than later, because there's a good chance the market's going to slow down for sellers a little bit later in a few months, and that could mean a loss of tens of thousands of dollars to you. So as always, it's really important to understand what it is that you're buying and what it is that you're selling, because in Santa Clara we have a pretty diverse market in terms of housing, right? A lot of neighborhoods can differ just in a matter of streets. So as a seller, understand what you're selling, understand how it compares to other homes on the market and how to price effectively. As a buyer, understand that the home that you're focusing on, how does it relate to the comps that you're trying to use for valuation. If you've got any questions about Santa Clara real estate, about a home that you see on the market, or about your home, please reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week.